Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm privileged to welcome a very multifaceted individual from the world of academia, from Cincinnati, USA, Professor Drew Boyd. Drew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Professor Boyd is a professor and educator of marketing and innovation at the University of Cincinnati. He's the host of the podcast Innovation Inside the Box. He's the co-author of the Inside the Box, a proven system for creativity and breakthrough results. He's also an author of So You Want to Be a Professor, How to Land Your Dream Job in Academia, and Adding Prestige to Your Portfolio, How to Use Creative Luxury Process to Develop Products Everyone Wants. So, Drew, what an amazing career you've had. So, before I get into any detailed questions, tell me about your own journey in brief.
Well, it's one of these journeys. If you look at it on paper, you think, "Oh my God, what has this guy done?" It goes like this. I started my career in the military, and I had kind of a strange job. I worked in the nuclear missile career, so it was end of the world kind of Armageddon type of thing. And when I left the military, I was very fortunate to join United Airlines in marketing and strategic planning. And I was here again, a very unusual transition to go from military to this airline, not as a pilot now, as in management and strategic planning. And I enjoyed that thoroughly for about 10 years. And one day I got a call from a recruiter who said they had a great job with a fantastic company. And it was with Johnson & Johnson, the healthcare company. But my first job was director of market development for gynecologic surgery. Okay, and then 17 years at Johnson & Johnson, and now a professor of marketing innovation. So my career has gone from nuclear Armageddon to airline marketing to gynecology marketing to now as a professor, and then now my career is about to take off again with artificial intelligence and developing products for that. So how would you explain that on paper? I don't know. It's been a wild ride.
Oh, incredible. Thank you for sharing this. So now let's talk a little bit about your area of specialization, which is innovation, persuasion, and strategy.
Yeah.
Drew, how do you define persuasion in the context of business, and why is it important?
So, when I was with Johnson & Johnson, one of the things we noticed is that we had fantastic people with great skills and talents and passion, but we would put them in a situation where they had to persuade, let's say, the senior leadership on a new initiative. And they would come forward with some beautiful PowerPoint presentation with all the data and all the beautiful slides. And at the end of it, they would just end the presentation and say thank you. And we would look at each other. There was no ask. There was no pounding on the table demanding something. And we were frustrated by that. So I went out and I found the leading voice in the world of persuasion, Dr. Robert Cialdini, who's the most cited psychologist living today and social psychologist. And I decided to take training from him. And I became a Cialdini method certified trainer because we wanted to get our people to not only have a point of view, but realize that the expectation is you don't just do a job. You're there to really shape the business, and you need to use ethical, non-manipulative persuasion skills to do that. And persuasion is a skill. So persuasion is getting somebody to say yes, not just changing their mind, not just changing their attitude, but having a specific request and getting people to say yes on their own terms, by the way. And that's what I love about teaching persuasion. I've had people in the audience sit there and go like this. And I know the feeling. They're thinking, my goodness, I should have learned this earlier. Why didn't I know this earlier in my career? And so that's why it's so important. You have to realize you're there to make an impact on the business, and you do that through persuasion.
How fascinating. How fascinating. And what are the key elements of a successful innovation and persuasion culture within a company?
No question. That's a common phenomenon where when I teach people how to innovate new ideas, they're left with the next question is, how do we get alignment? First internally, because innovation is by definition, it's meant to disrupt the status quo, and not everybody's not everybody likes that. So it's a critical part of the innovation equation.
Okay. And when you're trying to make some changes or some kind of to implement some innovative ideas, what are some of the common challenges you have observed leaders face?
Yeah, I call it resistance to innovation, and the reality is that when you are an innovator or you're leading an innovation culture, you have to expect resistance to innovation. In fact, if you're not getting resistance, something is wrong, because resistance in an innovation essentially define each other. They go hand in hand. Something is not truly innovative unless it meets some resistance. So you have to change your frame and say resistance is expected, and it's a good thing, because resistance to your innovative ideas serves as a gatekeeper for quality. Bad ideas should be should be thrown out. So you need a resistance part of the culture to weed out the bad ideas and to pressure test and inform and improve the quality of the good ideas. So if leaders adopt that, it takes the pressure off to create a culture where it's okay to resist ideas. Now, that said, you still need a structured approach to get people on board, to get people aligned. And once you do that and everybody agrees to the game, and this is why companies with fantastic cultures like Procter & Gamble here in Cincinnati, they're so good at being able to resist each other and to challenge each other. It's part of the DNA of that company, and they do it without ruffling any feathers, without disrespecting anybody. It's just a fun part of the culture to be able to do resistance and come out stronger.
What a great response. Thank you. You know, a few minutes back, you also said that one of the other areas you're going to be working in is in artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
My question is, what role do you see emerging technologies playing in driving innovation in the future?
AI will have a big impact on innovation in the future. I'm working with some colleagues right now on how you take the strongest AI models and merge it together with the strongest innovation models to really get the power of that effect. And so we're taking ChatGPT, for example, built by OpenAI, merging it together with the method that I am well known for and have written about, called systematic inventive thinking. And AI is performing brilliantly. And so we're proof testing this now with various companies here in Cincinnati, very much like the results. So in terms of idea generation, it's going to be significant. But that's not the only role that AI will play. AI has a powerful role also to sense the environment, to understand changes, see when certain ideas become more or less relevant, and so just to create ideas in a vacuum in a little machine is not enough. It would underwhelm the opportunity. And I see AI products and models, which I'm working on actively, to be better at the whole cognitive process, create, act, decide, learn, reflect, sense, all the things that human cognition can do. We need to bring AI to make innovation just routine. One of my favorite quotes of all time about innovation is, could the greatest invention of all be a method of invention? And we're there. We really have a machine now that can just generate ideas for us. Pretty crazy.
Very well said. Great response. Thank you. And Drew, are there any ethical considerations businesses should keep in mind when pursuing innovation?
Yes, for sure. Your activities always have to have an ethical background, always.
Mm,
And it's just the basic things. You know, companies have to take responsibility for putting only safe products into the market,
mm,
safe that are safe from the beginning to the end of their life cycle. So we need to treat people with respect. We need to not take advantage of the vulnerable, like children or the elderly. And so there, you know, those fundamental principles of ethical behavior have to be abided by. There's no room for error or compromise
mm.
on that.
Right.
And and you use that as your guiding philosophy, your credo, so to speak. And this is where companies like Johnson and Johnson are ethics based. Again, Procter and Gamble, and small companies too. Innovators have to have the best intentions in mind in terms of the patient, the consumer, and the environment, and the employees, and the economy at large.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm a big fan about laying down that ethical base. Let it be your guide. Don't go to sleep at night and be restless. Sleep well at night. Do the right thing, and you won't have any problems in sleeping
Absolutely.
at night.
Absolutely. Well said. So, two more questions, and then I want to move to your book. How do you see the relationship between innovation and sustainability evolving in the coming years?
Well, the sustainability, it has always been has been on the agenda of our minds for a very long time,
Mm.
starting with the basics of just recycling. You know, don't litter, right? The
Yes.
good behaviors. And what's true about sustainability? It's changing behaviors, and innovative products can encourage people to be more sustainably minded, and companies more sustainably minded.
Mm.
The long term effects, you know, there's two ways to get change: you mandate it, or you motivate it.
Mm.
And so was we know how mandating how effective that is. Not very
Right.
effective, right? It's
Mm.
just forced. It's a forced attitude. But
Yeah.
when you can motivate people to want to change, innovation of technologies, of things that matter to people day in and day out,
Mm.
make them do their tiny little part to sustainability. And what do you know? We get results. So social innovation is a big agenda item for certain institutions. I know Columbia University, for example, has a big focus on social innovation, including sustainability of the environment and sustainability of certain ecosystems.
Right. Right.
Major role, no
Mm.
question about it.
Mm. Well said. And uh, would you be able to share any interesting example of a company that if has effectively used innovation to overcome a significant challenge?
Oh yeah, yeah. Boy, there's a lot there. Let me pick out a good one. I mean, a significant challenge. Um, you know, I look at a company as a company here in the U.S., but a global company called Emerson.
Mhm.
Emerson is a maker of primarily industrial equipment for
Yep.
consumer-based products like air conditioning.
Mm.
Giant company,
Mm.
very significant company. And one of the key problems that they have is that they make products for the home that are what we call out of sight, out of mind. They're
Mm.
basically products that are stuck in people's basements or a closet somewhere, and people have no idea that this system is working for them to keep their home comfortable,
Mm.
with, you know, and managing the air quality and the temperature and the humidity and things like that. There's a lot to it. I mean, we take it for granted, right?
Mm.
Well, how do you, how do you become relevant to consumers? How do you get them to care? And so it was a matter of using an innovation technique we call division.
Mhm.
And this was a technique where you take some part of the system and imagine it existing somewhere else in the system. you divide it out and place it somewhere else. A very powerful pattern. Well,
Mm,
this simple technique helped them completely change their view about how they're going to make their products and services more apparent to people. So what they're going to do is they imagine having a certain control box, not a thermostat, but a certain other technology
mm,
that is no longer in the closet or in the basement. It's now in the kitchen, or it's in the garage, or somewhere where you see it every day and you
mm,
think about it. It's bringing your technology into the forefront.
mhm.
This is where the companies like Google and Amazon and
Yeah.
Apple, the FANGs, so as we call them, the FAI,
Mm,
are so good at making their solutions part of your day-to-day life. That's what good brands do. They become relevant to what you
right.
do every day. So
Mm,
here's this big industrial company trying to do the same thing, and this simple
mm,
innovation help them what we call break fixedness and see other opportunities than
mm.
what's always available to them.
What a great example. Thank you so much. So, Drew, I'm now going to move to your book, and you have so many, but I thought we'll talk about your book uh, about the creative luxury process, adding prestige to your portfolio, how to use the
Yeah,
creative luxury process to develop products everyone wants.
yeah.
Let me start by asking you, can you give us an overview of the creative luxury process outlined in your book?
Yes, sure can. So as it turns out, luxury has a code.
Hmm,
Luxury has been around for as long as humans have been around,
correct.
and it's a very very innate concept to us. We value some things so much we would take them to our grave.
Hmm,
That's the epitome of a luxury product.
yeah.
And it turns out researchers, primarily in Europe, France and Italy, the hotbeds of luxury, have studied luxury and understand it. That there are certain what we'll call triggers, things that trigger luxury.
Hmm,
And one group of researchers in particular identified something like 77 different triggers. I boiled those down to the ones that are most controllable by a company, by a brand team,
hmm,
into what I call 15 luxury switches. Trigger switch,
hmm.
think of it as a light switch. You would throw the switch on. And then
Yeah.
if you turn these switches on, you take any product or service and it turns it into a luxury product,
Hmm,
a premium, super premium product. So, for example, switch number one is creating what we call a masterful solution. So if you have a product like this, a coffee cup, and you wanted to turn it into a more of a luxury product, you would focus on just this handle
hmm,
and imagine the most super premium handle of materials handmade by certain artisans that have a
hmm,
world-renowned reputation for this, with a design that is unique, that is comfortable. You focus on one detail and you throw as many switches on that one item, and you can turn anything into a luxury product. The title of the book at one point with the publisher, we were going to call it Gilded Bulldozers.
okay.
And so that's the luxury process,
Mhm,
and it's a matter of throwing these switches on whatever it is that you want
mhm.
to create a luxury
That's
product for.
fantastic. Thank you. And do you see a relationship between creativity and luxury influencing consumer preferences and purchasing decisions?
Absolutely, that's what the book is about. Essentially, it's taking luxury switches and adding creativity structures to it.
Mm,
So you are able to throw these switches in a way that make consumers prefer your products. They want your products,
mm,
and it affects everything along the customer journey,
mm,
from the product itself, creating that masterful product,
mm,
packaging, the shopping experience, the buying experience, which are different. Shopping and buying are different.
mm,
Then the user experience, the collecting experience. Collecting is a big part of our life. We love to collect things, especially luxury products. So there's a continuum of time, and the innovation comes in how you manage each step of the customer journey to give them that premium experience all the way through. It's not just putting a great product out there with
Right.
gold leaf. That's not it at all. It's managing the memory all the way through, that feeling of premium and prestige.
Fascinating. So time for two more questions for you. My next question is that how can businesses effectively communicate the value proposition of luxury products to consumers?
So the answer goes back to this idea of the customer journey. The way you communicate value is through every step of that journey. So let's take a simple example. So you can imagine a scenario where you have a luxury product. Let me go back to my luxury coffee cup again, and you would convey value by only selling this in certain premium outlets. You wouldn't mass distribute it, because when you mass distribute something, it's not as seen as premium. You want to create scarcity. You want to create a sense of exclusivity. People, that's what it is: exclusive, unique, and exclusive. So at every step of the journey, they get reminded of how this is a premium product. In my book, I talk about a use case of a personal watercraft. Sometimes a jet ski, sometimes we'll call them. And it was a fascinating exercise to take this thing. You imagine, for example, the seat of the luxury watercraft matches the seat of the executive's chair at their office. So the same fine leather, maybe shell cordovan leather, and so you're creating this experience where that person just revels in that sort of that premium experience. But it's not just consumer goods, Ashutosh. It's also industrial goods, things like bulldozers. You can give people that same sense of value, but it's continuously messaged and reminded to the person so that they continue to feel good about the choice that they made.
Fascinating. And my last question to you, Drew, what are some key trends you foresee in luxury product marketing in the coming years?
I think the key trends are the ones that, believe it or not, luxury doesn't follow. Luxury is its own trend. Luxury has been with people. I'll give you the quick background. The definition of luxury is something so valuable you would take it to your grave. Humans are the only species that buries its dead. We're the only species that does. No other species buries its dead. And in the grave, we tend to put things of value. That's what defines luxury. That trend has been, that mindset has been with us that long, 200,000 years, right? What the luxury industry is really good at doing is not chasing trends, but rather enduring through the trends. And this is an important point, that luxury is its own form of stability. It's not about change. It's about we're here for the long term. Again, and I mean this in a premium sense, not just gold watches and Bugatti cars, but industrial goods, everyday common goods. We've especially during tough economic times, we have a flight to quality. People buy things that are going to last longer, to be things so valued, you would pass them on to the next generation. So a strange answer to a question, but it's not about chasing clever trends. Fashion trends, yes, but it's still the idea of the premium feeling is one that is innate to people and will be with us probably for a very long time.
You're so right. I mean, it's often been said that luxury brands are the only ones that seem to continue to grow and prosper even in downturns. But on that note, but on that note, Drew, thank you so much for speaking to me. It was such a delight to talk to you and me about innovation, persuasion, and strategy. I think I learned some very interesting things from you about innovation and culture, innovation and ethics, and innovation and sustainability. Thank you also for speaking to me about your book. I don't think we were able to do justice to luxury marketing in just 7-8 minutes, but maybe in a few months I'll reach out to you for a more detailed conversation on
I would love
luxury
it.
brands, and because I'm sure my viewers and listeners would love to understand luxury much more. Thank you
Thanks
again
for
for
having me.
speaking to me, and
Yep.
good luck.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.